So do you believe in spirits? And have you ever experienced any paranormal activity?
ないんですね、残念ながら。これいつも聞かれてないっていうと、ファンとか映画見てくれた人が残念に思うだろうなと思いながら、決定的なゴーストを見たとかゴーストに襲われたとかいう経験はないです。だから人から聞いたりしたことを参考にしたり、自分で想像した怖さを参考にしたりしてます。
No, I've never seen a ghost. A lot of fans of mine or people who've seen my films seem to be disappointed if I give that kind of answer. But no, I just listen to stories that I hear from other people and I use my own imagination.
The Grudge saga, which was shot in the US, is your own remake of Ju-Han. How would you compare the producer, director, and director-producer relationship in Asia and in the United States? Would you compare that relationship?
確かに違いますね。プロデューサー、そのプロデューサーがどういう人か、監督がどういう人かにもよると思うんですけど、基本的にはアメリカの方が、アメリカでもハリウッドとその他の地域で違うと思うんですけど、基本的にはアメリカの方がカンパニーとかプロデューサーが意見をすることも強いし、決断権も契約書で持ってたりするので強いんでしょうけど、僕の場合は言いたいことは結構言う方ですし、バランスよく受け止めることもできる方だと思うので、そんなには。
Well, it's different for sure. Of course, it always depends on the person as well. I mean, it's not that every producer or every director in Japan or the United States is the same. I mean, there are personal differences as well. But in general, you can say that, of course, in the United States, and this is, I think, particular to the United States, because in Europe it's again different. But in the United States, a production company is quite strong. They have a strong influence on the project. So in my case, I managed to get a pretty good balance between director producer and how we decided on things in the film and for the film. But it was my first time experience working with an American producer, and there were a lot of fights and disagreements, especially in the beginning.
But in the end, you still had a say as a director. You still could do the essential of your work, what you really wanted to do at the beginning, the essence of it. It was possible to make it. Nevertheless, your original ideas, what you were fighting for, there were not too many concessions.
結局多分もうだったら俺をクビにすればいいだろうとかっていうところまで行ったりもしましたけれども、最終的には自分でじゃあどこでバランス取るかっていうことなので、納得した上でもちろん出してます。そうじゃないとお客さんに失礼になってしまうので、監督は本当は納得してないのに完成させて公開しましたと見てくれるお客さんには失礼なので、そこが自分でしまったと思うくらいだったらやっぱり監督の名前載せないでくれとか、そこまでの話に発展しちゃうと思いますけど。
Yeah, there were times when we were having these disagreements and fights that I would say like, okay, then why don't you fire me and I'll stop being the director of this film. But in the end, I think I also had to realize the fact that I was working for an American audience and I had to take this American audience into consideration and their tastes and what they were expecting. So so in the end I managed to sort of like reach a balance that I could be satisfied with and the American producer could be satisfied with.
And could you choose your actors, for example, or were they imposed to you by the production? Could you make that choice by yourself, or it was a bit more difficult than that?
どっちも人によって役によって全部違うんですけど、アメリカのプロデューサーから推薦されて僕がそこから選ぶってこともありますし、完全にオーディションでやって決めた役もありますし、僕の方から提案してプロデューサーがいいかもしれないねってことで僕の意見を全部そのまま取り入れてくれた役もあるし、バラバラです。
It really depended on the role. Like there were certain actors that were suggested to me by the producer, Other roles, I had an idea that I suggested to the producer and he liked or agreed to it. And there were also roles that we just did an audition and made a choice from that.
There seems to be a double trend in the Grudge 1 and 2, a very strong presence of the sacred, of the Asian beliefs, and an American production coming with a lot of money. In the end, the audience understands the different elements and the different codes that you propose, but contrary to The Grudge, Maribito was shot with, not so much money, of course. So how would you compare Maribito to The Grudge in these terms?
予算もそうですし、使える時間もそうですし、全く内容、もちろん内容もそうですし、でも全く違うからこそ同時にできたんだと思うんですよね。で、片方は僕にとってはですけど、初めてのハリウッド映画でそれなりに潤沢な予算があって、でもう片方は僕いまだに今でも信じられないくらい低予算で短い期間で撮らなければいけなかったので、それが同じような似たような内容のものだったら多分やりこなせなかったと思うんですけど、全く違った方向性のものだったのですごく楽しかったです。
Yes, of course. When I did Maribito, I was doing post-production for the American remake of June at the same time, and those films were, if you compare budget, the shooting time we had for the shooting, and also the content of the films itself were completely different. But I think that's for that reason I was able to do them simultaneously, because like working with a budget so low that even for me it was unbelievable as compared to this big budget that I had in Hollywood. And if the content would have been the same, if it would have been the same kind of films, it would have been impossible to do them at the same time because I would get confused. But now, because the content of the project was completely different, I was able to separate them also and do them at the same time. And I really enjoyed being in this Hollywood post-production atmosphere and then go back to Japan just for 2 weeks and do something completely different.
There was the Ju-Han 1, Ju-Han 2, The Grudge 1, The Grudge 2, now Ju-Han number 3, I think, The Grudge number 3, and Ju-Han number 4. Is it possible?
In America, the Grudge series, the Grudge 3, is a different director who's doing it. They're taking that into that direction. So but I'm still involved as an executive producer. But it's going to be, or it's a different director. In Japan, I think I still consider it possible that I will do Ju-On 3, but only after everybody has forgotten about the other Ju-On films. So maybe in many years from now, I'd like to do another Ju-On film. But now I think I've had enough, and I think other people around me have had enough, and we all want to do something new and fresh.
Mm-hmm. The Grudge 1 and 2 were produced by Sam Raimi. What do you think about his work, about Sam Raimi's work?
Well, he's a very friendly man, and of course he thinks more as a creator himself than as a producer. So he knows how hard it is as a director to make your own film in Hollywood. So he was very close to me in a sense. He was more like an ally to me. So it was an honor for me to have him backing me and seeing things my way, as opposed to the American producer who was trying to push me in a different direction.
Are there big money, movies that you would be able to do, but with a lot of money that you cannot do because the deciding people don't let you do that? Are there films you would dream to do, but you cannot do because of the money problem? What would be your dream movie?
I think for me the scale of the film is not all that important. It's okay to have a lot of money at your disposal, but also I think if you would have the total freedom to shoot the film that you want, it would become more or less impossible, because there would be no one to sort of disagree with or discuss with, or somebody opposing what you're doing. So in that sense, I think I need limitations and restrictions to work within, so that I can create a film. Otherwise, if you have the total freedom to do what you want, it becomes kind of impossible in a way. So also that's why I want to keep on making these sort of like more like experimental films and not just commercial films. Of course, on the one hand, you have to think about business and money, and it's important to have a hit also, because if you have a hit, it makes it easier for you to push through your own projects after that, in the future. Once you've had that hit, it becomes easier to convince other people that you know what you're doing. So, yeah, in that sense, I want to keep the things in balance between commercial things and making money, and also enjoying myself and making films that I really want to make.
So what and who made you decide to become a director? You decided to become a director, I guess, a few years ago, many years ago. But who was your influence? Who was your main source of inspiration, maybe in Asia or somewhere else in the world?
Well, of course, I've seen so many films and so many different genres, so it's hard to choose any particular one. But if I have to name one, in the first film that I wasn't looking at the movie stars in the film, and when I started concentrating on the person who actually made the film, the creator of the film, was when I was 10 years old and I saw E.T. And of course Spielberg. That was the first time that I became aware of the film creator, and when I first started thinking about I might one day want to do this myself.
So how does it feel to be in a jury that is chaired by Mrs. D. Wallace?
Well, of course, it is a very strange feeling, because when I saw that film, I was about the same age as the boy in the film, as Elliot, and she was playing the mother. So since I was the same age as the boy, that's one of the reasons, of course, that I was able to empathize and sympathize so much with him. And now that we're here in the same jury, being like colleagues in the film world, so to speak, it is a weird feeling. But of course, I feel very honored and very happy about being here together with her and getting to know her, and makes me feel like I'm glad I didn't commit suicide before.
I'm not going to ask you if you have thought about committing suicide, but I wanted to ask you who are right now the filmmakers you are identifying with the most in maybe in the world, but especially in Asia, in Japan, or in South Korea, in the horror genre?
Well, there is, of course, Sam Raimi, because I got to know him personally. I noticed that he also likes sort of like practical jokes a lot, and also in his films, even if they're sort of like serious horror films, he always puts in these kind of like jokes to make people laugh as well. So in that sense, I think there's a personal, not as much as in our films, but a personal likeness or similarity, because we both like to have jokes like this. In that sense also, Peter Jackson may be like that, and people in Japan have already, or producers have told me that you should become the Peter Jackson of Japan. So there's also some sort of similarity there.
And last but not least, I would like to thank you very much for accepting this interview with us. And I would like to ask you a few words for the readers and the readers of the newspaper and the visitors on the internet. A few words in Japanese, maybe, I guess. Maybe incitating them, telling them that they have to go and watch your movies, talking about the BIFFF, whatever you want. Just a few words for the readers in Belgium.
Well, it's my first time to be here, so I'm very excited. If you watch my films and they make you very scared, then I'm happy, I'm glad. But if they make you laugh out loud, then I think that is fine too. That's great too. And of course, I'm known as a horror director, but one day I really do plan to make a very moving love story as well. So please enjoy that when it comes out.